Hi, friends. My name is Toni Cureton. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Life Skills FYI. Life Skills FYI provides a set of core adult capabilities to manage work, family, and relationships successfully. It's designed to help build the skills adults need for life. Life Skills FYI teaches skills of planning, awareness, focus, self-control, and flexibility. They are daily living skills to promote successful independent living, skills that every adult should know but were never taught in school. Life Skills FYI premieres on Thursdays at 10 a.m. on our My Virtual Academy Facebook page and on Instagram. Today, we are going to talk about what to do in the event of a power outage. Power outages can happen at any time, so it's important to know what to do when it happens, whether from a storm, equipment failure, falling trees, or something else. A power outage can happen anytime, anywhere. While there are things you can do to prepare, you will still need to act fast to protect your devices, appliances, and to keep your family safe. The steps you take initially in the first few minutes of a power outage can also improve how well you get through it. Today, I'll share exactly what you'll need to do when the power goes out and how to make an emergency preparedness plan. So, you need to find out whether the power outage is only within your home or if it's affecting others on your street, down your block, around the corner, so that you can make the most effective plan of action. One of the first things you should do during a power outage is to unplug any appliance or electronics to avoid power surges and damage to your computers and cell phones and any of your electrical appliance can suffer damage if they get that unexpected surge of power. So to avoid that, you unplug everything. Once you've unplugged everything in your home, you're going to make sure that you unplug it, and when the power is restored, you'll plug everything back up. Sensitive devices should be on surge protectors to prevent damage if you can't unplug them in time. That means that you should really keep things like your computers and your television sets. You should keep them on a surge protector anyhow. That way, if anything ever were to happen, whether you're home or not, it will not be affected from electrical currents surging sporadically and unexpectedly within the power lines for them. You should keep your refrigerator and your freezer doors closed for as long as possible so that your food can stay cold. Make sure that you plan, you strategically plan, okay, we're going to go into the refrigerator to get this out and this and everything else all at one time so that we don't keep opening up the refrigerator door and the freezer door, because every time you open it, you lower the temperature within your freezer and your refrigerator. During winter storms where power outages occur, you should dress in layers so that you can stay warm, and use battery-powered lights such as flashlights instead of candles, because candles can pose a fire hazard. Now, if you don't have anything on hand but candles, by all means use them, but just be really mindful, especially if you have children and pets, because a candle can easily topple over, and now not only do you have a power outage, but you now have a fire. So best practices, safe practices, go to the store and purchase several flashlights with batteries and spare batteries and keep them in the event you have a power outage instead of keeping candles. Make sure that you leave one of your lights, a lamp, night light, plugged in to your outlet so that when the power is finally restored, you'll be able to tell because the light will come on. So, power outage safety. If the power outage is the result of a storm, flood, or other natural disaster, check your property for damage. Report any fallen power lines. Make sure that you don't go near them or touch them because they're very dangerous and you could get electrocuted. Make sure that you clean up any debris, fallen tree limbs, leaves, whatever may have blown on your property. Make sure you clean all of that up so that it doesn't become a health hazard for you and your family. Don't use water damaged electrical outlets, appliances, or circuit breaker boxes until they've been properly checked by a professional, your local electrical company, DTE Energy, or consumer. Make sure you contact them and have them come out and take a look at your electrical outlets to make sure that they are ready to receive power and to be in proper working order. Also avoid electrical shocks from flooded basements or rooms. You know, when things flood, things go underwater, you don't know what it is or what it could be. And if you step into that flooded water, you could get shocked, you know, and accidents can happen that way. To avoid this, just keep from going down into the flooded area unless you know for sure that there's nothing live down there that could harm you or your family. Check your yard for fallen trees and limbs. Use a gas or an electric chainsaw to help you quickly dispose of any stray limbs so that no one else can get hurt. Food safety, this is a big one because, you know, especially if you have more than one freezer to store your food, no one wants to lose an entire freezer of food. That has happened to me before. You make sure you check in your refrigerator and your freezer and discard any questionable or spoiled items. Don't be misled by the food's appearance and never taste the food to determine if it's safe. If certain foods have been exposed to temperatures of 40 degrees or higher for longer than 2 hours, harmful bacteria will have developed within your food and could give you food poisoning. So you should toss it out. This is especially true of eggs, meat, fish, poultry, cheeses, and dairy products. So when your power goes out and it's been out for hours, you know, 3, 4, 8, 24, your food is no longer safe and it should be tossed out. Now, again, I've experienced it. I've had to throw an entire freezer full of food away, and it was not a comfortable feeling, but it's better to be safe than sorry because food poisoning is no joke. That is not something you want to have or experience. So if your food has been in the refrigerator, even with the door closed and you never open it, but if your food has been in that refrigerator for 8, 10, 12 hours, your freezer for those amounts of hours, it's questionable at best, but more likely than not, it's just not safe. And so you're going to have to discard it. If food in the freezer has begun to defrost, throw it away. Typically, a freezer full of food will stay frozen, providing you don't keep opening up the freezer door. It will stay frozen for 48 hours. If the freezer is only half full, then that number drops down to 24. And the reasoning is because you have an entire freezer full of food. All of them are frozen, and that temperature for each individual item is working collectively to keep all of the contents of your freezer cold. But when you only have a half full freezer, then that lowers the amount of time that it will remain in a safe temperature so that you can continue to keep your food and eat it without getting sick, because there's open space in it, and there's nothing keeping that temperature, helping to keep that temperature the way it should be. So full freezer, 48 hours, half freezer, 24 hours. And if it's defrosting, just throw it away. So when the power is restored, you should go back and plug everything back up, put everything on surge protectors, and turn on all of your essential appliances first, and then gradually turn on other electronics after. Make sure you reset any digital clocks, timers, alarms, network routers, and other essential items. And going forward, the plan that you should put together for how you respond and react to future power outages, you should make sure that once the power is restored, you go through your emergency first aid kits and replace anything that was used during the power outage that you needed. Replace it immediately. Replace any batteries, check all of your flashlights to make sure that the power is good in there, and make sure that you update and check the date on your batteries so that they don't expire, so that whenever it happens the next time, you know you've got a full supply of power to help you during the power outage. If you live in area, if you live in an area where you're frequently impacted by storms and poor weather conditions, which continually, constantly causes your power to go out, you might want to consider getting a generator. But personally, you should consider getting a generator anyway. Whether you have power outages regularly, frequently, or every now and again, you really should consider getting a generator. It is worth its weight in gold, because there's nothing worse than power's gone and you have no electricity to run nothing. But if you have a generator, even if you only use it a couple times a year, when that power goes out and you're able to plug your electronic devices into it, especially your refrigerator and your freezer, keeping your food intact, it pays for itself. It pays for itself. So in my opinion, get a generator anyway. Develop an emergency plan that includes a list of contacts. In case you need to contact somebody, you should always keep handy the number of the power company, DTE Energy, Consumers Energy, Consumers Power. Keep their number handy so that you can keep in communication with them, so you can find out what's going on in your area. There are many apps that they have available where you just put the app on your phone, and then when something happens, you can go in and they'll tell you based on your phone's signal what's going on in your area, and you'll stay updated to the news about when your power will be restored or what happened, what took place. So do that. Then again, if you already do not have surge protectors for your electronic devices, you should go get them, and you should keep your electronic devices plugged into them, because again, you don't want to damage your televisions, you don't want to damage your computers, you don't want to damage your appliances, because it received that shock of rejuvenation in power and it wasn't really prepared for it. So this is what you need to do going forward. Get a surge protector, look into getting a generator, make sure your emergency supply kit is stocked and ready to go. Make sure you have flashlights and fresh batteries ready for your flashlights. Keep your contact list handy so that you can reach out and contact those people and companies and organizations where you can get help. Also, you might want to consider getting a portable battery operated radio. And I emphasize battery operated because I know we all have our cell phones and we can do enormous things with them, but at some point, you need to recharge that battery. And if your power is not restored, how are you going to do it? So if you keep a battery operated, a AA, a D, a C battery operated radio on hand, you can turn that on and listen to what's going on in your area if, it's a serious condition that you need to listen to the radio to hear the news so that you're updated. Well, friends, that is all my time for today. Thanks so much for tuning in to Life Skills FYI. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me, my name again is Toni Cureton. My number is 586-842-0558. That's 586-842-0558. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, always to adult responsibly.